Ooh, she's looking a little bit crusty and a little bit empty. Hi everyone, welcome back to Chaos Maker's Hobby House. I'm Alexandra, and let's take a look at the end of September garden. I'm going to give you a garden tour of the transition garden, where the summer garden is wrapping up and kind of petering out, and we are getting ready for the fall and winter crops. If you've been following along for a while, you know that the entrance arch to my garden, pole beans, is usually super lush, super green, super thick, and right now it looks a little skeletonized. It's taken a beating. But despite not looking the best, it's still producing. So can't discredit it for looking a little rough. I mean, this was a long season. I think we're all a little rough by the end of it. Even though it looks pretty rough, these beans, especially now that it's starting to cool down, will kind of snap back a little bit. Hold on, you've got a little smuts on you there. That's better. But they will bounce back now that the weather's cooling off. They definitely struggled in the heat that we had this summer. It was a brutal, hot, dry summer. But they should keep going until first frost, as long as pest or disease doesn't completely take them out. Oh, well, these used to be all my summer squash. There is one left. You've been following along. I was growing two varieties of each squash, two different ways. One vertically, one sprawling on the ground. I had some over there as well. And this is the first year I have ever had to deal with squash bugs. Now, squash vine borers, they're a huge nuisance problem here. I deal with them every year. Squash bugs, most people really struggle with, but I've been lucky and haven't had any issues with them for the most part. I mean, leaf-footed bugs, yes, but squash bugs, no. But they found my garden this year and they decimated it. So the whole point in growing half vertically, half on the ground was to see which handled pest and disease better. See if I could continue my squash longer in the season than I normally would. Yeah, that didn't work. I will say that growing them vertically definitely made it easier to spot pests and pest eggs early on. But with the squash vine borer, one of my methods of dealing with them was to bury the stem as it grew along the ground. But since they weren't growing on the ground, I couldn't bury the stem. And it didn't stop the squash vine borer from getting into the plant. Yeah. That was where it basically erupted from a squash vine borer. And they're all toast. I got this one left and it is suffering bad from powdery mildew, but I'm just, whatever. Let it do its thing. I don't care at this point. I'm kind of burnt out like my garden. But the watermelon has taken over where these used to shade out, so that's not a bad thing. It's getting kind of late in the season, so I'm hoping some of these have a chance to ripen up, but we shall see. Some of them are still quite small. I do have to cover all melons at this point in the season with mesh baggies because of pickle worms. The softer rinded melons like honeydew cantaloupe and those kinds are especially hard hit by them. They just burr right through the skin and you find a bunch of little holes and eat the melon from the inside out. So when I see a melon has been pollinated, it gets a mesh baggie. Otherwise, I have no chance of getting melons. They'll even go into the watermelon. So that's all honeydew. This was a late season planting because I didn't get my seeds to germinate at the beginning of the year and then just didn't have the room to direct sow them. So we're doing a late season and they should have time to ripen up. We have a long growing season as long as it stays warm enough. And then the Ananas d'Amérique melon, it has been hit hard by pest and disease. Believe it or not, pickle worms will even burrow into the stems of melon plants and just hack them right off. So even if I cover the fruit, if a pickle worm gets the stem right where, like right there, where the fruit was, say, attached over here, but they get it right here, it means that this stem will live, this stem will die, so your fruit won't mature. But they're hanging on. and still trying to set fruit. Although that one, do you have some frass on you? This one may have already gotten attacked by a pickle worm. Yeah, would you look at that? Perfect example. Pickle worm in the leaf. And one thing I had a major problem with from day one, tomatoes. I could not grow a tomato this year. I had trouble getting my seeds to germinate, and then when I finally got the plants to a somewhat mature height where they would start producing, they just spontaneously died. They would start to wilt and then just turn brown. But I got one. So that was a tomato plant. Look at how massive it got. It was absolutely huge. Of course, it got huge when it was too hot to start producing, because tomatoes will drop their blossoms if it's over, I believe, 85 degrees, 90 degrees, something like that. So they won't set fruit. But then one day it just started wilting a little and then dropped. And this is not a bed that I've planted tomatoes in before that may have been exposed to tomato-borne diseases. But this one, planted at the same exact time as this one, just a couple feet away, is thriving. Lots of little tomatoes on it. I'm hoping that some of them actually manage to ripen before we get a frost. But you can see that I have definitely just let this thing go. I tried pruning it and staying on top of it and training it and trellising it. I've given up because the cucamelons have thoroughly taken over as well and are fully entangled in my tomato plant. At this point, I think the only thing holding the tomato plant even remotely stable to the trellis and keeping it from completely falling over on itself are the cucamelon vines encasing it. But thankfully, since it's cooled down a little bit and we haven't had insane humidity, the disease hasn't taken this out despite not having the best airflow. I didn't even notice there is also a sucker growing from the base of it. Okay. Oh, I need to get that one covered. But just to give you the full effect of the cucamelon wall, whoever's bright idea it was to grow it on a trellis taller than me, I've got some words for you. It was me. So next year, we're gonna attempt another cucamelon trellis somehow, because I had it over there last year and it actually took down the fence. It got so heavy, just one plant got so heavy it broke the fence. So I wasn't gonna let it go on the fence this year, at least not the majority of it, and set up a trellis. And well, it's just a lot. It's hard to get in there, but there's so many cucamelons, and the pickle worms are definitely doing a number on these too. But because there are so many on here, I'm actually getting a good harvest that hasn't been snacked on prior to me getting to it. If you don't know what cucamelons are, they are also called mouse melons or Mexican sour gherkins. And they are teeny tiny little cucumbers that look like watermelons. They're a bit tangier than a standard cucumber, but they also make great pickles and they're just awesome for snacking on. Now, normally peppers like hot weather, but mine struggled through most of the summer. Come on, get in there. Get in there. There we go. But as soon as it started to cool down a little bit, they took off. I am getting so many peppers. This is the jalapeno. It's a jalapeno without any heat. There is a pepper plant back here. I don't know how this basil hasn't gone to seed. It's tried a few times and I just pick off the flower heads and it just keeps going. So yeah, I have made so much pesto with this. It just smells amazing, but it is insane. So that bed is 12 inches tall. So it's a foot. So that is easily a 3-foot basil plant. But hidden behind here, oh gosh, okay, ugh. Picano peppers. So this is absolutely loaded. Not my smartest choice to put it right here. I didn't expect this basil to last so long or go so crazy, because I'm having kind of a hard time reaching it to harvest, but it's still loaded. It's doing fantastic now. It was slow to start, but not anymore. Then banana peppers tucked back in that corner. I definitely will move these to a slightly more shaded area next year. Usually I grow them in here, but because I had some nightshade disease, mystery nightshade disease, I wanted to keep nightshades out of here if at all possible. But this section gets a little bit more shade. This section gets blistering sun all day, and I definitely had a lot of peppers with sunburn on them. Yeah, and that teeny tiny New Mex Easter pepper's still in there too. I will never grow that again. That was hot and not very good flavor, so yeah, bye. Now I do have a pepper in the bed that I said no peppers, but that's only because it volunteered here, and I didn't pull it. It's still the mystery pepper, the same mystery pepper that's been a mystery for 2 years now. It's still hot. I use it sparingly, so I don't know. I just can't get myself to rip out a plant that is looking healthy and thriving and producing. So I will give them to people who like hot peppers, which is what I've been doing. Sir, you are out of control. This Brussels sprout plant is almost entirely, actually it might be 1 year old, a solid 12 months, maybe more. All of those. I planted those last fall, and it always got too hot, and they never produced. They would grow slow through the winter, and then spring would come, they'd start to get their little Brussels sprouts going on, and then our spring would turn into summer in about a week, and all the little Brussels sprout shoots would spread out and not grow. But I just kind of left them in here to see what would happen, and whew, she big. These little ones were planted at the same time, but they are definitely more in the shade, so. Oh, transplanted artichoke. That was rehab artichoke that was in a pot for a long time that was snapped off from the root. It lived! And it's doing really well. And seems to be pretty happy. It's put out a lot of new growth, so I think we're good. I think it's gonna stick around. So for the main garden bed, that is pretty much all that is left from the summer garden. So let me show you what I've started to plant for the fall and winter garden. Beets. Got little beets sprouting up. This whole row is going to be beets. Some are germinating faster than others and looking better than others. And carrots. Very, very teeny tiny carrots. That is a volunteer tomato. I can't seem to grow a tomato this year to save my life, except for one late season that may or may not ripen before first frost. And here I've got a tomato volunteering in what was previously deemed as the toxic to nightshades bed, because of whatever was attacking my nightshades was in the soil in these beds. And here we go, living its best life. I don't know anymore. But yeah, all the little green tufts. Carrots just starting to germinate. I did plant another round of squash, hoping to get something out of them before first frost, although that one's seriously stunted. There's another one. It may or may not be too late for those. We may get a frost before they produce, but so I'm willing to risk it. It's a seed. If it doesn't work, I wasted a seed. It's fine. If I didn't get it a chance at all, then, well, I definitely wouldn't get anything out of it. So I've got until mid to late November, usually, as long as we don't get any surprises. What do you know? Another volunteer tomato. This one's really slow going, though. It volunteered a while ago and was just a little sprout for a long time. It only now just got big enough where I have to actually, like, train it to something, so yeah, whatever. Potatoes. Got my fall crop of potatoes in, and they are all sprouting and looking pretty good. What the hell? What in the world? What the? What is happening? Okay. So, this is where I started my tomatoes, where I initially had my tomatoes that all died. Potatoes are also a nightshade, so I can understand if they're contracting whatever it is the tomatoes had. But through some soil testing and creative thinking, and with the help of you guys, we narrowed it down to this bed having a lack of calcium and some nutrient deficiencies. So I did a lot to add more nutrients to the soil, targeting specifically what it was missing, and thought, well, I need a place to plant potatoes, and planted them here. And it's not like they are going to suffer necessarily as much of the calcium issues as tomatoes. So maybe it's not just a nutrient deficiency. But that's so weird. Literally a perfect, beautiful tomato or potato. Another one right next to it. Actually, I think these are coming out of the same little sprout head. And this one is looking like it's hating life. This one, perfect. These, perfect. Perfect. What the hell? I'm really not sure. Oh, the sun's blinding you. Sorry about that. So moving forward, I'll have to see how these potatoes do before really making any final decisions. But something's wrong with these beds. It was low on phosphate and it was low on calcium. I added both of those in a couple different forms and then retested, and it was looking good. It was looking a lot better. So if it's not nutrients, it's not herbicides, because the only thing in here for like added soil wise is soil from my compost bins. Now I organic garden. I don't use herbicides or any weed killers or anything that would be harmful to the garden. My neighbors don't treat for anything along our shared fence line. I have double checked with them because they do also have dogs. So we are very conscious about what we put in the areas that our pets run around. So I don't know what could have been introduced here. But now that I'm looking at it, even that one single pea plant that germinated, my pea seeds were so old. So I'm honestly surprised I even got one to germinate. But even that's looking kind of puny. Well, this was supposed to be a garden tour, but it seems like it's turning into, what's wrong with my garden? What's wrong with my soil? I don't know. So, train of thought, depending on how these potatoes go, I may throw something in here like sunflowers for next year. Not any kind of fruit crop or vegetable crop. Just sunflowers are great at pulling toxins and stuff out of the soil. I'll amend it heavily and see if I can do some sort of a reset, but we'll see. If you have any ideas, let me know, because I haven't encountered this. It's very strange. Some things do great, some things don't, and they can be attached to the same plant. Okay, moving on. Well, I still do have a ground cherry plant hanging on for dear life. Oh, I have a few I need to pick up. It's got a little crunchy in some places. It got real hot, and while growing the ground cherry and the green stalk was great. I mean, I did have to tie parts of it up for support. It meant that I didn't have to go scavenging through mulch or grass to try to find the dropped ground cherries. They're just right there. So convenient. But it was quite challenging to keep watered enough. They drink a lot and dried this thing out so fast in our 100-degree weather this summer. So I do have big sections of it that are just crunchy. Not to mention, my chickens have found this and they thoroughly enjoy ground cherries. Now, one thing that definitely isn't looking rough is the loofah sweet potato bed. Uh, I have a hard time getting in there currently. Let me try to get someplace where you can actually see where the sun's not blinding you. There we go. Yeah, she's thick in there. Now I'm gonna brave it just for you because in there is a lot of spiders and a lot of mosquitoes. Ooh. Oh gosh. Okay. Sweet potatoes have thoroughly sprawled everywhere. They'll probably be harvesting those in late October, early November. They have been pretty chewed on by, come on, focus, cutworms. They do this every year. Every year. They go after the foliage and see a lot of skeletonized leaves, and then half of it's fine. They come and go, and I've kind of stopped fighting them. If they get really bad, like at this point, they're pretty bad. I may come out here with some BT Thuricide and give it a spray, or just diatomaceous earth. Don't want it to be completely defoliated, but honestly, sweet potatoes can take a beating. I kind of don't dare stand up. But there's a lot of loofah behind me, and you can't really see it on camera, but there is a cascade of spider webs as a ceiling. So I'm not standing up. But this has been a fantastic loofah year. I should be set for a while on kitchen sponges, and ooh, can you see them? There's one of my friends. Oh, look at that pretty spider web. I don't hate it. I wish they could have chose a better location, because I walk in here and I have stood up head first in spider webs more times than I care to count. But you can see all the loofahs around it. Holy cow. They're everywhere. And that offshoot that's just kind of hanging there with more loofahs dangling off of it, yeah, that used to be that giant sunflower. It's so cool under here. Oh, there's another friend. Hold on. Ugh. I am very, very close to this one. Can you see him? Right there. Oh, lost focus. There we go. Can't really see his web though. Not without the sun reflecting on. Oh, there's another one. Okay, I'm leaving. It was a little bit more crowded in there than I wanted to deal with. But yeah, I have to keep fighting this monstrous plant from invading the neighbor's house. And I actually had a spare loofah seedling that I threw over here to climb on the chicken coop or chicken run. Maybe give them a little bit of shade in the blistering sun. Hi, ladies. Are my girls. And yeah, it's big. It's quite large and quite effective. It has given them a lot of shade. And despite not being in the sunniest part of the yard, it is producing, although a lot slower. This plant definitely likes a lot of sun. It'll grow fine in partial shade, but it really won't produce. And I do have maypop hidden in here somewhere, and it is thoroughly buried. So the maypop will come back next year, and I'll probably just let that be the cover for the run, because it will fill in quite well. This was just, I had an extra plant and I can't throw away living plants. Excuse me, ladies. Excuse me. But it has given a little bit of shade here. It's made its way inside the chicken run, and is producing loofah inside the chicken run. I've had to pull it off of the roof so many times and redirect it because it kept trying to go over the top and into my neighbor's yard, and I don't want to be that person. I'm not gonna make you suffer my plant insanity. But that's just cool. Yeah, Nivi? Yeah? That's super cool. It's on your beak. Did you bruise your beak? How'd you do that? Nivi? You okay, babies? Meow? I'll have to take a look at you later. Okay, coming through. I will let you guys out a little bit later. It's too early now. You know I don't let you out if I'm not out here. And I can't be out here for 3 hours. So, a little bit later, okay? I've been letting them free range for like the last hour of the day lately. Give them a little bit of time outside of their run. And at first it was just a couple times a week, but one week I did it multiple days in a row. And now the little brats expect it. So around mid-afternoon, early evening every day, they start pacing back and forth along the door and brushing their beak back and forth along the wire mesh and just chirping, begging to come out. Like, I can't let you out every day. I don't necessarily have time to sit out here with you every single day because I will not leave them out here unattended with the hawks that we have. And Karen is the only one that can fly. She's the only one with normal feathers. Everyone else is a frizzle, and one of them can't even jump up onto the roost bar, and I'm having to help her every night. So I'm not worried about the frizzles flying the fence, but Karen can. Karen is normal feathers. And we have dogs all around, and I definitely don't want her to become a chicken nugget. So if they're outside, I'm outside. But now they're being bratty children and come to expect it every night. Yay. Now, I think I noticed. I did. Whoop. I just got launched on by a little lizard. Where'd it go? I scared the crap out of me. Sorry, buddy. I'm sure I scared you too. But what I was saying is the loquat is going to start blooming here soon. These are the flower stalks. They bloom these tiny little white flowers that smell like absolute heaven. They do bloom in the fall, carry their fruit through winter to ripen in the spring, and as long as we don't have an obnoxiously cold winter, they will hold on to their fruit. If it does drop below 27 degrees, I do need to provide some protection, or else they will drop their fruit. If it drops lower than 20 degrees, well, then I am SOL, because I won't be able to provide enough protection. Hi, buddy. And last year, we got snow. It got 16 degrees, 14 degrees, something like that. And we got snow. And I didn't get any fruit this spring. It was just too cold for too long, and I couldn't protect it enough. So all the fruit dropped off. But it gave me a chance to do a spring pruning, which it desperately needed. So I'm happy about that. And it's growing in thick and beautiful and has a lot of flowers that are going to bloom here soon. So hopefully that means we'll have a good spring for fruit as long as they make it through winter. Now on to the front garden. Don't mind the severely shocking Siam tulip. I just moved those here, got rid of all the canna lilies because if you remember, I had a cherry tree buried under there and the canna lilies were taking it over. So hopefully now it'll look a little bit better, have a chance to perk up and breathe. She's looking a little rough, but yeah, I moved those midsummer. Not ideal, but they will bounce back. They don't just look very sad until then. Oh, you remember my Nancy Garrison passion fruit that started to wake up after going dormant for winter only to die? Well, I threw some seeds from some fruit that I had forgot were in the fridge in the ground, and well, she regrew. This time I'm going to be smart. I'm going to bring it into the garage in the winter. It's actually a lot of different plants in there, so I'm going to separate them out a little bit. into separate pots. One will probably stay outside, but I will definitely bring at least one into the garage to protect it, because I don't want this dying again. Oh, and look at all the pomegranates. Now this is my dwarf pomegranate, so the fruit only gets the size of a golf ball. But there's a lot in there. I did take one off and test it. That was looking ripe, and she was not ripe. So these are definitely going to need more time. I'm probably going to have to wait until first frost. They take something around 8 or 9 months, 7 to 9 months to actually ripen once fruit is set. And some of these I know won't have enough time before first frost because, well, they were only set recently. But not too shabby considering the snow made this die back completely to the ground over winter. And it's a good 3.5, 4 feet tall now and full of fruit. Now, you know I love me my berries. This is the Dorman Red Raspberry, and we are just going into our second fruiting of the season. This is wonderful. This particular one is everbearing. It produces twice a year for me, in the spring and the fall. So we're getting into our fall season now. So everything really took a hard hit this summer with how hot and dry it was, but this did pretty well overall. It is native to Australia, so it's native to hot and miserable. But I've been coming out here and just getting a good handful each day as a snack. It's just starting. Hopefully soon we'll get a little bit more. But I need to work on the trellis over winter. I need to tie in some cross supports so the ones in the middle aren't draping over to the edge and are a little easier to harvest, but this thing is thorny, so not messing with it until it dies back for the winter. Oh. This is a butterfly ginger lily, the salmon colored variety. Much more delicate flowers than the original variety, which is blooming over there. Absolutely gorgeous large white flowers. It is getting towards the end of the season though. It'll still bloom until first frost, but we have a lot of spent blooms on it already. So it's going to focus more on throwing seeds, but we do have some unopened blooms. This stuff smells amazing. If you live in a zone and can grow butterfly ginger lily, this thing perfumes my entire yard, part of my neighbor's yard. It is amazing. And it's so easy to maintain. I literally do nothing and it thrives. It is in a part shade location. I never water it. And I have to come in here and thin it out yearly. Tucked back here. Oh, isn't she lovely? This is my torch ginger. This got taken over by elephant ear over here. The Siam tulip used to be here as well, but you couldn't see it because of the elephant ear. So Siam tulip's been moved, and once this goes dormant, I'm going to move it as well because it's just too pretty to be tucked back in a corner that you never get to see. Doesn't really have much of a smell, but beautiful. And quite large flowers too. Ooh, all my sunflowers look sad. Unfortunately, I didn't get around to making a tour while my sunflowers were in full bloom. But I planted a fall round of sunflowers kind of everywhere. I still got one going. And she's lovely. I've seen some giant bees on these this year. Look at this one. Look how many heads this one had. Obviously, it's a little lackluster now, but that color. This one had a giant head. Oh, she's heavy. I need to cut that. I've got a few more late popping up over here. Just a little pretty thing. And on one of my recent shorts, I made a video about covering fruit in the little bags to protect it from birds. These are my persimmons and they're getting such good color now. So far the birds have completely stayed off of them. One of my good friends is actually visiting in July, or what am I talking, July? At the end of October, and one of her favorite fruits is persimmons. And what's amazing is that's around the time these persimmons are going to be ripe. So I'm gonna send her home with some fresh Fuyujiro Asian persimmons. I didn't get any last year. It unfortunately stormed the entire time the blooms were open last year, so none of them got pollinated. But I've got a lot of them this year. Oh, and I'm so excited to share them. Now you remember that teeny tiny little fig tree that I got as a cutting? It had one fruit on it, and of course the birds got to it before I did. I mean, I tried it anyway, but it's fruiting again. Only this time I know better. So when these get a little bit bigger, a little bit closer to ripe, I am going to cover the whole tree in bird netting. Because that little taste I got of that one fig, or that one like half of a fig, was delicious. Oh, it's so exciting. It's done so well since planting it in the ground. I had it in a pot for a really long time. And I am notorious for not being able to keep potted things watered. At least not as consistently as they should be. Oh, it's getting a little hairy over here. So, American Beauty Dragon Fruit. This thing has exploded with growth. Oh my goodness. She is massive and doing so well, and I'm so glad I did a proper trellis this time because this is a lot of weight on here. Now, I have expected it to start fruiting. Dragon fruit start to fruit when the plant is mature enough to fruit, obviously, but when it starts having cooler nights and warmer days. So, spring and fall. And right now we've been having cool nights and beautiful warm days and no flower buds. It's definitely mature enough. It's definitely big enough. So another thing you can do to trick it into fruiting is to snip the ends off of the branches. And I did that on a dragon fruit I had last year and it worked beautifully. But instead this one was just like, nah, I'm just gonna grow another branch. So I don't know. I gave it some good fertilizer. We'll see if that helps. But this really should be fruiting. It's not the same variety as my last one, so maybe it's just not mature enough. I mean, it certainly looks mature enough. I could be wrong though. I'm still relatively new with the dragon fruit, and I definitely don't live in a zone where these can stay outside all winter. And me and potted plants don't always get along. But I mean, she's huge. I got it as a single cutting, so I'm doing something right. Got it last year, at the end of last year as a single cutting. This is all growth from this year. Wow. If you know anything about the American Beauty dragon fruit specifically, can you tell me if it's just maybe not mature enough, or if there are any other tricks of the trade to get it to fruit? Because I would love to get fruit this year, and I'm slowly running out of time because dragon fruit flowers take about a month to mature to open, from the time the little bud forms to the time the flower opens, and then the fruit itself takes about a month. So it needs to start flowering, or start growing the flowers pretty much right now, if there is any chance of getting a fruit to ripen before frost comes in. Oh, mango tree I grew from seed has put on a lot of growth this year. I don't expect it to fruit anytime soon, if ever at all, because it was grown from a seed I got from a store-bought mango. But it's really, I don't know, I find it interesting to see its progression from literally a seed. I did notice this weird girdling on it the other day, though. So, main trunk goes up and then has this weird thin spot. And it almost looks like a little bit of sap right there. And then it gets big and bulbousy again. That looks normal. But that's bizarre. What is that? It's firm, no soft spots. No, it's definitely some kind of sap. I'm not too terribly concerned. Worst case scenario, I mean, if I cut it right there, it still has branches out. It'd just be a big heading cut, a big pruning. Mangoes are not hardy in my area. Just another one of my experiments. And I mentioned how the Dorman red raspberries are doing really well, and they did great over the hot summer because they're native to a place with heat. These are Anne's Golden raspberries. If you've been around for a while, you know that I did not buy Anne's Golden raspberries. I bought Heritage red raspberries. But that's not what they grew into. So they were definitely mislabeled, and I'm just kind of guessing that they're Anne's Golden. They are definitely not suited for our hot and humid climate and really struggle with diseases from it. But they're attempting to do a fall crop. A lot of the berries are just kind of dry and gross, and the plants are shriveling. I haven't quite decided what I want to do with this yet. If I want to keep these, maybe consolidate them somewhere else, put them in a different location that's a little bit more protected from the heat. I don't know. I don't want to waste a good spot. And these are just not my favorite. They're good, they're just not my favorite. I just really love the classic sweet but tart red raspberry flavor. That's what I grew up on. That is my favorite of all raspberries. That classic tartness. And the Anne's Golden just don't have that. They are much milder in flavor and sweeter, and they just don't quite hit the spot for me like a true red raspberry. I'll have to think that one over. That might be a winter project. But that about wraps it up. Everything that is going on right now. It's been a whirlwind of a year. I am burnt out for more reasons than one, and the garden did get kind of pushed on the back burner this year. They can't all be winners. I'm just happy that I still have as much going as I currently do. I definitely didn't take care of it like I should, even though I vowed in spring that I was going to, but this year has been brutal. The heat, the heat indexes. My 16-year-old cat wasn't doing well. He's doing much better now, thank goodness. I am not ready to say goodbye to that meatball. It's been a year. I'm tired. It's kind of why the videos have been a little bit infrequent lately. I keep meaning to make them, and then something comes up and I just don't have the time, and by the time I do have the time, I just don't have the energy. But anyway, this life is gonna slow down soon. It always slows down in the winter. And then I go stir crazy again. We're gonna reevaluate things, hopefully get everything sorted that needs to be sorted over the winter, and come back fresh in the spring. Garden burnout is a real thing, whether you create content or not. There comes a point in the year where you just kind of wipe your hands of it, and mine was about late August. So I'm just glad she's doing what she's doing. Well, thanks for joining me on this garden tour, this little bit of a rant and ramble. Sorry the HVAC just kicked on because it's late September and it's still 85, 90 degrees. If you have any questions, comments, suggestions, I would love to hear them, and I'll see you next time.